maybe about a minute early, but we might as well go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome everyone here to the City Council meeting. Today's date is November the 7th, and it's we'll call it 6 o'clock. Looks like we haven't changed the clock on the back, but it is 6 o'clock instead of 7. I've asked Mark Sorensen, our city attorney, if he would give us the prayer.
Our Father in heaven, we come before thee at this time as we are about to begin this city council meeting for Payson City. We're indeed grateful for the opportunity we have to be here in this nation, and for the recent opportunity to participate in the operation of our government by voting and being able to be free to express opinions and our vote. At this time, as we begin this meeting, we ask thy blessings to be with us, that we might be able to have clearness of mind and thought. We might be able to achieve those things that we are set out to do. We might be able to have the opportunity to discuss and deliberate those things that we have before us. Please bless us in these things. Bless the citizens of this community, that they might have those feelings that we are free and able to participate in our government and those things that surround us. We ask for these blessings. We do this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mark. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll lead us in the pledge.
Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Councilwoman Hyatt has something for us if she'd like to take care of that for us now.
Yes, I would like to move to amend the agenda and put the CTC Mayor's Youth Recognition Award up now so that we can take care of that.
Is there a second? Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do that. I believe, Dave, you're going to be presenting that.
I will. Ms. Leffler's had another commitment today, and I understand we have, is Andrew Morgan here? Andrew, come on up. And what about Zach? We'll have both of you come up. Andrew has a commitment in the junior high to for a concert, so we wanted to get this done and so that we could have him go to his concert. So if you can both just stand up here, we have a few things to read about each one of you, and then if we could have the council just come up, we'll get a quick picture, and then they can get Andrew can get to his commitment. So Andrew Morgan from the Payson Junior High. This is what was said from some of his teachers. Andrew doesn't demand attention or even seems interested in it. He shows up every day ready to go and always puts a full day's work in. He gets along with his peers and continues to develop his talents, and this is why he's at the top of this class. That's from Mr. Archer. Andrew is a great student. He is never absent. He brings to class a good, hard-working attitude every day. He is liked by his peers without showing off or performing for acceptance. He does his assignments without complaining and completes them thoroughly with a sincere effort. I think Andrew is a great kid. I don't know his parents, but they are doing a good job, Mr. Howell. Mr. Davis said, Andrew is a hard worker who quietly does the right things. Andrew is intelligent and on task and is a good example of both academics and behavior for others. Mr. Smith, Andrew is a hard worker and self-motivated. He always has a positive attitude and is always willing to help when needed. And then Mrs. Gilly said, Andrew is a top-notch student. He is always prepared for class and works hard to do his best. He has a great communication skills and is always willing to ask questions to check for clarification and to participate in class discussions. He's a very pleasant personality and is a great example to his peers. I'm lucky to have him as a student. Way to go, Andrew. Totally deserved award.
And then
Zack Winners, Payson High School. Zack Winners is one of the kindest kids you'll meet. He has spent countless hours volunteering with the Addict to Athlete program, which is a program that helps people who are addicted to drugs change their addiction from drugs to running. Not only does Zack volunteer, but he even goes a huge step further by running countless ultramarathons with people in the program. He also shares his very personal experiences with many addicts about how drugs have impacted his own family, and recently has been invited to go on tour around the country sharing his story. He has made a huge difference in many of the participants' lives in helping them to overcome their addiction and to avoid relapse. Zack started his own landscape business as a sophomore in high school, but decided to take a break from it to be able to concentrate on his concurrent enrollment classes at Payson High School. Despite the odds being against him, Zack has shown a significant amount of resiliency as he has given his best effort at school and is doing very well. He plans to start the EMT program at MTech starting in January. Zack is also a rock star at home where he watches out for his little brother while his mom is at work, and also helps to take care of his sweet grandma who is currently battling cancer. As you can see, Zack is a stellar young man, and I'm happy to nominate him for the award. And that's Coach Wright. Thanks. Council, could you come up and just wherever you're at. Thanks again. Students, we do have a certificate for you. I just need to get the mayor to sign it.
Congratulations, guys. Okay, we'll move on to B, consent agenda, approval of the October 17, 2018 council minutes, meeting minutes, and approval of the October 24th joint council and planning commission work session. Ready for a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes from October 17th, 2018.
Got a second? Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I was going to do the second one.
Okay. Need to have a motion for both of them? Okay.
And I move that we accept the approval of the October 24th joint city council and planning commission work session.
So we have a second for that motion? I'll second that. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. We'll go on to C, petitions. The public forum, anyone can speak on items that are not on the agenda. Time limit is 3 minutes. So if we have anyone that would like to come up and talk to us, looks like we have a candidate already. Come on up. You tell us your name and all that kind of information.
Mayor, council, Rat Hop, Payson citizen. I'm here representing the Lions Club this evening. I would like to cordially invite all of you to our Lions Pennies and Books celebration, oh my, that we'll be holding at the library this coming Monday from 6:30 to 8?
6 to 8. 6 to 8.
6 to 8, where we will be having 3 hot dogs for the public to celebrate the success of the Lions Club's Million Pennies for the Payson Library project that we completed recently, as well as we will be presenting a very large check to the library for $10,000. So anyway, we're looking forward to it. It's been great working with the library. They're great partners to work with. We're excited to be moving forward on the team space for the library, and I'd love it if you could come down and have a hot dog and just enjoy the festivities, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, come on up if you would. Let us know who you are, and love to hear from you. Turn the podium. Yeah. Everybody has the mic now? 10 minutes.
6 a.m.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Janet Hess, and I'm a citizen of Payson. And I've come before you tonight to ask if you could help make some standards of decency on Halloween for some of the things. Halloween is a children's holiday. And there are some things that have gotten out of hand, and they'll get worse. And could you pass these? They'll get worse as time goes on, and I want to know if you have any covenants or ordinances in place to stem this kind of activity. I believe it endangers the children mentally. This is just one of the houses that I saw, and as you see, it depicts about a 9-foot cross with a skeleton pinned to it and the letter 666 beneath it. I think that we should have, I know we have freedom of speech and freedom of property rights, but I don't think it should offend the whole community. I think there should be some kind of, they have ordinances for everything else, ordinances for this and for that. And I think that we should remember that this is a children's holiday, and we shouldn't mess with their minds or scare them to death. Most of them are familiar with the life of Christ, and I thought this was just pathetic. And I understand it's out there every year. I called the police to see if they could help, and they said, I thought it was a hate crime. But they said that they had property rights, and I know that. But how far is this going to go before we put some kind of standard to decency on it? If you'll notice, at the bottom of the cross, there's 3 6s. The sign of that's the sign of Satan. In Revelation 13, verse 6, we read, "And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven." And I don't think that it's appropriate to have this kind of thing on display on a children's holiday. And I thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please ask me. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but Mark, could you just look in to see what, with the freedom of speech and everything, if there is anything that we could do?
I just thought that was blasphemous. And I was really offended.
Well, thank you for getting up here and speaking with us. And I certainly echo Councilman Hewlett's.
I appreciate your time and your interest.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, my name is Mike Hardy. I just have a couple questions real quickly. Agenda item number 7, resolution for the pay plan for the Payson City Police Department. Is there going to be any public comment during that discussion?
Yeah,
I know it's not a public hearing, that's why I'm asking the question. So I'm just wondering if there's going to be an opportunity for the public to make a comment at that time. And then second, the Utah County Housing Authority Permanent Supportive Housing E1, is that going to be allowed, will there be public comment allowed at that time?
It's a work session.
It's a work session.
Yeah, work session, we can have some public.
Okay, that's what I wanted to.
So,
So, going back to D7, do we have any, are we gonna have an opportunity to comment?
I would imagine if we have some people who'd like to say something, hopefully not too extensive, it isn't a public hearing, but if we have some people that would like to comment, I'm sure we can entertain some of that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Council and Mayor, appreciate the opportunity to come here and express an idea for you. I don't know exactly where this might begin. My name is Tracy Evison. I live at 208 South, 1100 East, behind the hospital. When we moved there 25 years ago, we were part of the county. We since then, a couple of years later, got incorporated into the city. When we moved at that address, we were the only house besides Marty Buckwalder at the end of the dirt road, and so it was pretty remote. Since then, there's been a lot of residential homes built in that area. I was wondering if you might consider, begin the process of considering a solar-powered speed limit sign or warning, like is in other areas of the city. We have being right on that street, there's a lot of traffic and a lot of, in my opinion, speeding that takes place, and would hope that that might slow it down a little bit, especially with a son, a special needs son that needs to cross the street every once in a while to go feed the horses down the aisles. So I appreciate that process beginning as possible.
And which road was that, 1300 East?
208 South, 1100 East. The street right behind the back door of the hospital.
Certainly we'll take a look at it, and then it'll be a budgetary thing we'd have to take a look at there as well.
That would be great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor and City Councilman, I was
Ma'am, could you
wondering.
identify yourself for the
Michelle
record?
Pace.
Okay, thank you.
What I was wondering, I am so scared to be on 8 South, where it goes up to the temple, there's a stop sign there. But I seen probably about a year ago, a vehicle was on its hood right there. And I am so scared to keep going down 800 South because cars come out, and I think it would be good to have a street light there for safety.
Could I jump in there for just a second?
Sure.
Would love to have one there. We meet with DOT quarterly, and that has been something I've brought up every quarterly meeting, and so far they've not, and it's a state road, and we don't have any control over that. But so far they say we don't match what needs to be the level of traffic to have one there, but that doesn't mean we're not going to stop pressing for that.
Okay.
And as things get developed in that area, it'll even be more of a thing on the mind as well. Please don't let me stop you, I just wanted to interject
That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, doesn't appear we have anyone else. Is there anyone else who's thinking about it? If so, please come on up. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. We'll go ahead and go to the staff reports, and then following that, council. Any staff reports we need to hear from?
Mayor, City Council, members of the public, I noted that speed sign. We'll take a look at that. That's just the budgetary timing. The October stats for the Payson Police Department is 95 arrests, include 179 offenses, 206 citations issued, with 276 violations, 953 calls for service, 5 DUI arrests, 373 traffic stops, and investigated 38 traffic accidents. I just wanted to give you a report on the October report on the shelter, our animal control. We impounded 50 animals, 19 dogs, 31 cats. Obviously, some of them were redeemed and some were adopted and so on. So, do you have any questions on that?
I'm just curious, like when you notice that you share those out on Facebook a lot, is that pretty effective in finding the owners?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's good. Out of those 50 animals, it looks like 13 were redeemed as all. So, but that was 31 cats and 19 dogs for the total. So a lot of the cats are strays, can't be adopted. They had 9 adopted, 13 euthanized, 13 were redeemed by the owners, and 12 of them went to rescue groups. So there is a rescue group in the county that do rescue quite a few animals. So our shelter does everything they can to adopt or have the owner redeemed before taking any further action. So they do a pretty good job. So Payson accounts for about 20% of the animals, 20 to 24% of the animals that are taken to the shelter. So I just want to give you a report from the Utah County Major Crimes Task Force for the month of September. They made 18 felony arrests and 11 misdemeanor arrests. The amount of drugs seized, methamphetamine was 7.11 pounds, 21.07 pounds of heroin, 27.2 grams of cocaine, about a pound of marijuana, and then just some miscellaneous dosages of edibles, marijuana edibles, and dab. Prescription drugs, 39 dose units. They retrieved 2 guns and seized $17,063 in cash. We had a motorcycle accident earlier this week. I sent a report that the individual passed away earlier today. 47-year-old male from here in town. So our thoughts are prayers with his family. We also have one of our own in the police department, Officer Knighton. You guys may know Officer Knighton. His wife was diagnosed 2 weeks ago with stage 4 fibrostructural cancer, and she is not doing well. So we put a link on our Facebook to maybe if anyone can offer their family support, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you for letting us know that, Chief. Appreciate it very much.
I was just going to piggyback on that. There was some graffiti down on 100 South that didn't make the turn on 8 West, and that has been cleaned up. I want to let you guys know. A couple of you have reached out. Appreciate Mickey and Steve. They got on it right away, and we got cleaned up.
The mayor and city council and the public about the general plan open house that is tomorrow night. It's here in the banquet hall. Starts at 6 o'clock. So we are updating our general plan, which is our plan for the next 30 years, how we're going to accommodate the growth that's expected in our community. And so over the last several months, we've been we've had several workshops. We've had a project website to gather information and ideas from the citizens and the property owners, from appointed officials, elected officials, staff. And we're going to share some of that feedback at tomorrow night's open house. And so it's here at the City Center. It's actually in the banquet hall. It starts at 6 o'clock. There'll be a short presentation at 6:15 to give an overview of the preliminary vision for Payson, and then have an open house in order to gather additional information from those in the community of how they want to see our community grow, things that are important, things we want to see stay, things we want to see change. Want to receive a lot of information from the public. So definitely stop by, share some of those ideas. We'll try to incorporate those into the plan. I know that we've tried to get it out on Facebook. I believe that we have it down on the LED sign. There has been 1,500 emails sent out of those that have actually signed up on the imaginepayson.com website that want to be informed of this, of any meetings or opportunities for them to share comments. So that's also an opportunity. If you can't attend tomorrow night, we do have a project website. It is imaginepayson.com, and that will provide new information as we continue throughout this process. So definitely want you to get involved at any level that you're comfortable with, or you can contact staff if you have some other ideas. So hopefully we'll see everybody there, even if it's just for a few moments, but we're expecting a good turnout and continuing this process. So thank you.
Thank you, Jill. It's a pleasure to watch our staff work as hard as they are with this project, because as Jill said, it's for the next 30 years. And the more input that we get, the better off we like it, and I'm sure you would like it. And just encourage you to get involved.
Mayor and staff, I sound terrible. I have the worst voice, sorry. Okay, I wanted to thank the mayor for supporting our big band Halloween dance. It turned out really, it was wonderful. The band actually is exceptional, so I think we'd like to get them for further events that we have. But it was a nice turnout. I thought it was really fun. I wanted to kind of follow up. Brian had mentioned a month or so ago about doing something for the volunteers. I know with all the sandbagging that happened this past, we want to celebrate all the volunteers who take part in our community. For me, it's just to do something soon. I'd rather prepare and do it right the first time. There is a National Volunteer Week, and that's in April. So for me, that works out perfect with my schedule, just with my other events. And so Sarah Levitt, before she left us, she started a Pay It Forward race. So I want to continue that and kind of put that with this volunteer week. So we'd do the Pay It Forward race. We'd get the library involved, Lions Club, Cultus Club, the fire department, their volunteers, of course the team meet, our seniors, and then also, I know Melanie has been involved with American Fork doing a few things, and I've got on her, their website and have some great ideas that they've done. Blood drive, a cleanup day. At the end, it would be fun to do a concert at the high school. They're willing to also offer that facility to us. I would like to do something like doing nominations, like for Grand Marshal, for Onion Days. Only it would be if you see someone doing a great volunteer act during the year, we could do nominations for somebody, give an award for certain somebody that year. Also, a place where you could take pictures of volunteer actions happening and then turn it in, and then like at the end with our concert we have a slideshow, kind of shows all of our activities that we've done. So that's my thoughts on that. I just want to let you know about our Santa Dash. When the TV Museum turns on their Christmas lights, this will be the day after Thanksgiving. And that's a fun event, starts at 4:45. We have a Santa Dash, so all ages, if you guys want to, you get a free Santa hat for $5, and it's 1 mile dash where you go up to the canyon, and you'll run back to the museum. Then you'll have hot chocolate and donuts. We do caroling. Spring Lake Elementary will be coming and helping with that this year, and then we turn on the lights. And then also just future on your calendar, December 7th and 8th is the Teeny Christmas Boutique. We'll have 30 vendors this year in the museum. I'm going to squish them all in there. And we have entertainment already scheduled and the train show. So the Christmas festivities are soon around the corner. So thank you.
Thank you, Janine. I just want to piggyback on what Janine said about the band of Halloween. It's a very, very professional band. Have 3 singers with them. It's the big band era, but modern music as well. So very, very professional. Sergeant Barnett is a vocal person in that group, and he's very much a community individual, and whatever he can do for the community, he's expressed what he'd love to do. So just wanted to put that for you.
Mayor and council and the public, I just wanted to report, in case some of you didn't know, KFC is under construction, so there's another one coming that we have a different choice besides the ones we normally have. The public works crews are out, just trying to, we've got water leaks we're still dealing with, trying to get some patches ready before winter on the asphalt. Nestor's gonna be a big help. We're buying some traffic analysis software to help look at some of these, like traffic lights, even though it's maybe a UDOT road, we can still do our own analysis with him and then argue with him if we don't agree with their numbers, so that'll be a good help. So he's been a big help, at least for me and Jill, so we'll give him a shout out. So I just want to thank you guys for approving that and getting that position, so unless you have any questions, that's all I've got.
Thank you. Thanks, Travis. Okay, if we don't have another staff, I don't see anyone getting up, but we'll go on to council reports, starting with Councilwoman Hyde.
Well, this is a different one. I just wanted to thank all the businesses in Payson. I love it that I don't have to go outside Payson to do my shopping. And the people are so kind. I appreciate that. And also, I wanted to thank the council. I mean, the chamber, you guys are doing awesome. I see it, and thank you.
I agree. The chamber's out, active. They're doing all sorts of good things. It's fun to see. I just like to, we got a few things. Voting, it's always great to see so many people come out and vote. I know that people that didn't get their mail-in ballots, there was a little bit of a wait yesterday, but what a great turnout. I think it was a record voter turnout for a midterm election, so that was really good to see. I was going to mention Imagine Payson and encourage everybody to get out and come to the meeting tomorrow. You only get a few chances to go out and shape the vision for your city, and you got to take advantage of it, whether it's online or whether it's at the meeting place tomorrow. Thoughts and prayers go out to Officer Knighton and his family, which is close to home. Let him know that we're praying for him and care for him. We appreciate him and all of our volunteers. Also, kind of a different one, I just want to put a shout out. First of all, to our city, I think they do a really good job of getting information out on social media and other places. They've done a really good job of sharing any sorts of upcoming events, any sort of public meetings. They've done a great job. And then also to the citizens, I don't know who runs them all, but the citizens who are running the Payson Utah News and Going On page, and the Payson Community Voice page. Those are Facebook pages that are just run by residents, and they just talk a lot about what's going on. And I also appreciate the fact that they keep the tone very professional and civil. That doesn't always happen on the indoor yard sale site, but they're able to get out and get some good information out to the residents. And I appreciate that sort of civic engagement. That's all I have. Thank you.
May I touch on just one more thing with the growth that we're experiencing, ladies and gentlemen? It's coming, whether we want it or not. I happen to be one that does want growth here in town, but we can't put ourselves into thinking it's not coming, and we need to be prepared, and we need your participation in this process. So I just wanted to say that one more time.
And I want to echo that also. It's very important for everyone to come that can and voice their concerns, opinions on what the city needs to do. I've lived here 70 years, and I remember Payson being the little town that I felt like I could go anywhere, and I knew everybody. And it's different now, and it's going to get even more different. And we need to welcome that growth, but we need to do it in a way that we can all be happy with. so I encourage you all to come. I also want to thank Janine Dean for all the work that she does. When you think about, I had someone say to me a couple of weeks ago, how many more things can Payson have? And I asked them what they meant by that. And they said, they started naming off everything that we have. And I said, but they're all fun things. And they said, I know, how come our town doesn't do that? And I said, you need to have them call Janine Dean and get pointers from her. But I so appreciate her in all that she does. And it's a lot of work, so I want to thank her. And that's all I've got.
Linda, you're giving our secret away on Janine. Don't tell other cities, they might come get her.
No,
so.
she won't see Janine.
I'm just glad we're working on something for our volunteers, so that'll be an exciting event next spring. So we have a great bunch of volunteers in town. We need to show them how much we appreciate them. Thank you.
I would just like to thank the workers that cleaned up the graffiti. I took a great deal of offense to it and knew that it was not true of our city at all. And to give somebody the lack of traction, quickly take it back off and show them that we're not going to tolerate it, I think is an important aspect of our city. And I also, I do appreciate all that goes on around our town and the community togetherness that we have. And I'd like to thank the roads department. I know that they get a lot of flack because Payson roads are horrible, but I love to drive down Arrowhead Trail because you can tell exactly where Payson City roads end. Because they're nice up until there. So just an FYI. So thanks.
Okay, thank you for those comments, Council. We'll go ahead and move on to Scout certificate, 10 certificates with Council Member Carter.
Okay, we've got more scouts here tonight than we've had in a long time. So when I call your name, I want you to come up. I want to shake your hand, and then I want you to go along the line and shake all the council members' hand, and I want you to stand right up here. So the first one will stand, and then next, okay?
Also, may I add this, if there's other scouts that we do not have certificates for, please let us know, we'll take care of that.
Okay, we've got Harry Egbert. I noticed you were the first one that raised your hand. Okay, there you go. Just right here, honey. Okay, Henry Draper. 2 Henrys. There you go. Thanks for coming. Ty Larson. And Ethan Law. Oh, what is that? Lau? How do you spell Lau? We'll get you your certificate right, okay, Ethan? All right. Payson Keylander. Did I say it right? Oh, what's that? But how do you say it? Oh, Keylander. Okay. Larry Peakley. I see that right. Okay. Kaisley Haymore. And I loved this when I saw her name. Good job, Kaisley. Andrew Dean. Let me give you that first. Thanks, Andrew. Good job. And Calder Hunter. Calder's not here. Okay. Did we miss any? Okay, Calder's not here. This is Ethan's. Do I need a what? Oh, yeah, I need to sign it, so does the mayor. Sorry, thank you. All right, you guys, one thing that I started and I like to have happen is I want every one of you to think about what you like best about scouting. Okay? Now wait a minute, we're going to start up there and go down the line. Okay, you first.
I like everybody in my friend.
Everybody's your friend. That's great. Okay.
All the adventures we go on.
Great.
Good leaders.
Good leaders. Okay.
My leader's dog.
Everybody heard that is leader's dog. And that's the first we have that. Okay. Oh, everything. That's great. Scouts is fun. Great. Learning new things. Thank you.
Like going to Scouts.
You like going to Scouts each week? That's great. Okay, thanks you guys. We appreciate it.
Okay, that brings us down to number 5, Chamber Business of the Month, Jade and Andrea. Did I say that right, Andrea? Andrea.
It's okay.
I knew I'd mess it up somehow. Andrea. Sorry.
She's used to it. We can't say it or spell it right, so it's all right. She still loves us. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm excited to be here tonight and just tell you some of the fun things that are going on. And I'm sorry, I'm going to take a little bit of time just to tell you what's coming up because we have a few events before our next City Council meeting that I want to make sure the public is aware of fun things that are going. First, we want to just recognize 2 of our newest businesses that we did ribbon cuttings for in October. Our Basic Health and Wellness is on Payson Main Street. He's in the old drug building. It still says drugs from the outside. And Thor Manji and his wife, he's a chiropractor and does holistic medicine. Fantastic member of our board as well, and we're excited to have him in Payson, as well as a new apparel store that's right around the corner, Rise Apparel. And she and her family had a very fun ribbon cutting this last Saturday. We had a fun fashion show and it was beautiful. I mean, awesome things and all ages and sizes for the ladies out there. So take some time and see what's coming to Main Street and what's on Main Street because we're glad it's here with us. So our pumpkin hunt was a great success for those that helped contribute to that. We want to thank you so much. We had a very fun turnout. Kids enjoy this every year to get out in the community and see what's available and be able to fill their stamp card and earn some different prizes and treats. And we had a fun celebration. And Andrew's been a great success in posting those live for us on Facebook. So if you have some time, come check out the chamber page and see what's going on. It's been really good. Our upcoming event is really focusing in November as we think of being thankful for the businesses that are here local for us. And Councilwoman Hyatt said staying local and shopping local, and that's our goal in November. We are doing a Shop Smallopoly. Don't ask me to say it again. And it's really similar to playing Monopoly. We have 40 plus businesses involved in Payson and Santaquin, and you'll earn little tags from the businesses as you go out and meet them. We have some fun prizes. This one is for 18 and older, and sorry kids, the prizes need to be that age group. So our final giveaway is actually a cruise package, so we're excited for that as well, and we hope citizens will participate in that. You can pick up your Monopoly boards at any of the participating businesses, and that's also on our chamber page if you want to see who is involved with that. December, we will have our light parade. It's on December 1st. Very fun event we do down First South in Santaquin, and we end at the elementary school there in Santaquin with Santa and hot chocolate and donuts graciously provided by the Red Barn. So it's a very fun event to come out, and that's also free. Anybody that wants to have a light float or just light your bike up, light yourself up, walk down First South, whatever you'd like to do. We'd love to have you come participate in that. So, all right, we're very excited for November to recognize a business that has been in Santaquin for a few years. They've jumped around a couple times, but are always there on Main Street, and we're very excited to have them. White Feather Rocks is our business of the month for November. Loretta and Jim started this business roughly 4 years ago in their garage, and it kind of started, I think, more as a hobby in polishing rocks and keeping some entertainment where she was a little stir-crazy and being home. And now they have a beautiful shop there on Main Street, right between H&R Block and our Chinese store, or Chinese restaurant. Sell a little bit of everything, from rocks to jewelry to beautiful Indian artwork. Anything you can imagine that's there, it's probably there. And they do a fantastic job in helping stay active with our community. They love working with our community groups. They do many things with our scouts. All of our Santaquin second grade classes will come down and tour their office and their building there, and they really enjoy learning about different types of rocks and the science and things behind those. So we'd like to recognize Jim and Loretta tonight. Perfect. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Right. Very good.
Oh, she threw her hands in there.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to move on to D, action items. We'll go ahead and hear from a staff presentation. Sarah?
Okay.
Okay.
Back.
Okay.
Some more budget amendments. Okay, so we'll just go down these real fast. We had that library donation from itself, $1,000. So we're just getting budget authority for that. We have a Hewish grant that was received, but it has to be run through Payson City. So that's just an in and out for the Hewish that we will be paying out to them. We have a vehicle that we sold in the wastewater department. We bought it in 2016 for $37, and we sold it for $46, and we are purchasing a new one for $44.5. So we got to put that back in the funds and give us the budget authority for that.
Sarah, just one note, the reason that we buy those on the state bid, and then we can get them at a better price, and then that's why we sell them for a better price.
Yep, we have, yep, state bid. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, and then Ron Crump has some additions that he needs for his projects that he has for his electric impact fees. So this comes out of the electric impact fee, and by law we have to make sure we spend that within 6 years. So he's got to spend some money to make sure that we're spending that within that time frame. So we have a big substation project on the southwest side of town that he needs additional funds for, and then also the purchase line. And then the police received grant funds to help with their overtime. The way the grants work, like I've clarified before, we don't get budget authority until we get that grant funding, just so we don't get ourselves in trouble by giving authority for grants if we don't get them. We just wait to take some of it. And then the restrooms, we only had it bid out to do one bathroom, but we thought while we're doing one, it's probably better to just do both. So we need, we had it bid out and it's another $10,000 for that. And we could use general fund balance or we can use interest revenue. Our interest revenue is doing really well. We only budgeted $50,000 and we're gonna be well above that. We've already made $50,000 in the 3 months that we've had interest. So I recommend using interest revenue to cover that. And then we have the $25,000 increase for public safety impact fees. Again, we have 6 years to spend the funds and we're coming up on that time frame. And this is to improve the building because we're starting to staff it with full-time, well, part-time, all the time. Where's Chief Spencer? They're there all the time, but they're part-time. So they need a facility that can facilitate them to be able to have a bathroom, have a kitchen, so they can stay there when they're there all day. We had a $500 donation from the Scottish Festival. We put that back into the park funds, repair and maintenance. We had a bid to prune the trees downtown. It was for $11,807. And that we can cover out of interest revenue again. And then this final amount, this is new. I just added that. We just received some of the funds. We received the top 3 items from the USDA. It's for the Bald Mountain Fire. And these are funds that are projected to come, so just to save us from having to come to council multiple times, I'm hoping these are accurate numbers of what we're going to get. So we're estimated to get about $468,000. $2,700 of that goes back to the golf course, which isn't much considering the last revenue that they had. But that's for using the pond. $2,800 is for water, for using PI water, and then recreation. That's for staying at the soccer field while they were here. And then $29,000 for the police overtime, and then $100,000 for the fire wages, and $330,000 for all the equipment that we used. And that's it for the budget amendments.
So on that last one, what happens if this projected money doesn't come in and we put it in?
So I'm not gonna put that in until they get it.
Okay.
But because you've approved that, it gives me the authority to just put it in.
Okay.
And if it's more, then I'll bring it back and you guys can approve more. But I will only give what we've received. The top 3 are for sure.
So I'll make sure there's not money that we're spending that's not there yet.
Yeah, nope, I wouldn't do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I better make, I neglected to say this. This is a budget amendment for the fiscal year 2018, 2019, just so you know what we're talking about here. And we will be opening a public hearing at this point in time, so I'm ready for a motion to open that public hearing.
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you have something to add to this or comment about this budget amendment, please step to the mic and give us your name and your address here in town, and try to limit your part of it to 3 minutes. Try to let us know whether you agree or disagree, and please don't repeat things that have already been brought up. So the time is yours, so go ahead and if you'd like to make comments. Okay, not seeing anyone that's taking advantage of that, I'll accept the motion to close the public hearing. Okay, second?
I'll second it.
Okay, calls, well, just all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Council discussion on what you've just heard. No discussion? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
Discussion when we talk about trees.
Okay, good.
I'm not sure that, are we talking about trees in a minute? Was that all part of this? Okay, so do we have a map of all the trees that we're trimming and everything? Because I kind of wish that we would have had that in our packet. I've got the numbers of the trees from previous meeting when they were all numbered, but I don't know which trees.
Did you read the proposition, the 7 trees sent to us?
I did. And all the trees are numbered, but I don't know where they are.
Oh, it kind of told you.
Well, okay, so I kind of know, but I'd like to see it on a map. I'm a visual person. The other question I had on that is, like one of the 7 trees propositions was talking about the tree in front of Mi Rancherito. And they said that it had been hacked to death by,
That's actually the one in front of Dixon's Meats
no, there's two of them. I read that one too.
and there were two there.
No, there's two separate trees. One was Dixon
I
Meats,
wasn't
one was
aware that
over
that
by
was
Mi
hacked to death.
Rancherito. And they kind of indicated that the property owners had been hacking at them all over the place. So my question was, whose job is it to cut the trees down? And if they're not doing a good job, do the businesses cut the trees down? Are we supposed to cut the trees down? What happens when they cut the trees, when they're not supposed to cut the trees, if they're not theirs?
They're in the public right of way, so they're the city trees. We were gonna go talk to the business owners. We wanted to get this on a budget amendment because if we get some of these trees trimmed before we put Christmas lights up, and they seem to be able to come and do that in short order. There are some trees that are on that bid that we probably will not have. I think they want to trim them anyway, just so they look nice for the winter, but in the springtime, like down closer to the U-ish, we got to take some of those bulbs out to redo the road. So some of those trees have to come out. But I know 7 Trees would like to save as many trees as possible. We have to have further discussion. There's some aspen trees that we feel like probably ought to come out. He wants to keep those and try to trim them. But as far as the ones you talked about, Doug, we just need to talk to those property owners, and if he thinks that to pull those out and put a new tree, it's going to take many, many years to get to where it is. Even though they've been kind of butchered, he thinks they can be groomed and still have a nice tree in those areas and get the canopy to grow up above the signage and stuff like that. It's just going to take.
Well, it looks like on a lot of these, wanting to come back and maintain them afterwards without any additional cost, which I like.
I know on the ones by Dixon's, he wants to do that because I think that's a personal challenge to him to get those back looking,
What's the point?
looking nice.
Yeah. Let's see. Trees are being great, in spite of being hammered so many times over the years, it seems that when the trees need to be trimmed in this area, they really butcher the trees. So I think that's the property owners.
Well, it comes down to, you know, we're bidding this out because we've had tree issues down there for quite a while. We'd like to get started on that. However, there might come a time where it's, you know, not only does this project happen, but our electrical department uses 7 Trees for some of the issues they have with power lines. Our streets department uses them for some others. It might come to a point in time where we get our own arborist and be trained on how to properly trim the trees and use that in-house. But at this point, we haven't done that. We feel like that this downtown issue's been there for a couple of years. We've had it to the council a few times, and it'd be good to get going if the council's willing to utilize these funds to get started on that.
I think you need to make sure that you advertise really well, that you're not cutting them down when people see the chainsaws out, that you're just pruning the trees. Otherwise, based off of previous conversations, it won't be very pretty.
Okay.
I might add to the conversations I've had is that it's not a fair, and ladies and gentlemen, it's an effort to make that downtown more inviting and look very good, and it's an effort to start this, and we want to continue taking care of those trees and make sure that we take care of them the way they're supposed to be taken care of. So after having said that, is there a motion?
Yeah, by the way, I agree. I'm glad that we're pruning the trees. I just want to throw that out there. We just need to make sure that people know what's happening.
I'll make a motion that we pass the resolution of the Payson City Council amending the fiscal budget year 2018-19, providing on 11/7/2018.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay, whoops, Councilwoman Carter seconded. This calls for a roll call vote, starting with Councilman Christensen. Okay.
I was just gonna say aye.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, we'll go to number 2, public hearing resolution amendments to the Payson City Annex Policy Plan. Jill?
I just gotta switch over.
So bear with us.
Yeah, sorry about that.
If I had a good joke, I'd tell one, but I don't. I always screw them up anyhow, so.
Okay. Thank you for your patience. Yes, thank you for the introduction, Mayor. So I do have a presentation to go through a little bit about this process because the annexation policy plan is regulated by Utah code, and the process to adopt a plan or to amend a plan, we find that process in state code. And so it is a little cumbersome, so I did want to go through a little bit because there were several steps that we needed to go through in order to get to the decision of the city council. So the annexation, this is the annexation policy plan that was adopted by Payson City back in 2002. It shows the area of the boundaries of Payson at that time, so it's been many, many years and we've had some additional annexations, but also shows the area that we see this city annexing at some point in the future, 10, 20, 30, up to 50 years. Actually, some of that area may not even become part of Payson, but the state code does require that if a municipality would like to annex property into their city, that property must be included in their annexation policy plan. So as you see, we went big, not having a crystal ball and knowing what will happen over the next 30 to 50 years. And so this is the plan that was adopted in 2002. Staff received earlier this year, actually in January, we received an annexation petition from Patterson Construction to annex about 215 acres into Payson City. And so that's what's initiated this request, and I'll explain why. So they submitted an application to annex property. It's in this area there, so as you can see there with that red star, that's the approximate location of that 200 acres. And that location is, so as you can see, is outside of the boundaries of our annexation policy plan, or at least a portion of it is. So the issue at hand was some of those parcels are not included in the annexation policy plan, so we were unable to certify the annexation, and the applicant is unable to advance in the annexation process until either the petition is modified to exclude those parcels or until the annexation policy plan is amended. The applicant has chosen to submit a land use application to amend it, and that is why we are here tonight, is actually at the request of an applicant. So the amendment process is followed by Utah code. There's several things that need to be done. We do have several check marks on there of things that have been done. We do have an application, we've had the public meeting, we've had a public hearing with the planning commission, and tonight we have a public hearing and a decision by the city council. With each of those steps, it does require various levels of notice, which has been done either to the affected entities or to the public, and those are also noted there. So the first step, or the first meeting, was a public meeting with the planning commission to allow the affected entities to examine and comment on the proposed amendments. So that occurred on September 12th. The planning commission did conduct that meeting. We did not have anyone in attendance representing the affected entities. But once we had sent the notice out, we did receive some comment back by some of those affected entities. The first one was Santa Clara City, and they had requested that any parcels that have been annexed into their municipal boundaries be excluded from the plan. Going back, our plan was adopted in 2002. That's been many, many years, and so there's been a lot of annexation and adjustments made to the surrounding communities. And so they did request that those be excluded. We also had a request from Genola Town to do the same, to exclude anything that's currently in their boundaries. But they also asked that any parcels located west of SR 141 be excluded from our plan to allow for the future expansion of Kegley Quarry. Do you want to know that Kegley Quarry is not requesting to expand, but there is some property out there that they could expand their operation at some point in the future, and they would like to have the entire operation in Genola versus part in Payson, part in Genola. And then the Planning Commission directed staff to evaluate possibly including some additional properties near the entrance of Payson Canyon in the plan if at such time those property owners wanted to annex into Payson. And so that was something that was also discussed at that meeting. So the Planning Commission public hearing, this occurred on October 24th. They considered the request of Patterson, the request of the surrounding communities. Actually, since that time also, we actually had a conversation with Salem City, and they had a similar request of anything in their community should be excluded from our plan. Staff had a request to remove any parcels that are already addressed in interlocal cooperative agreements with Salem and Elk Ridge. As a note, it does not include the interlocal cooperative agreement with Zack Winners, but we do show the changes for Salem and Elk Ridge. They also talked about the determination of the Payson Canyon area, and they decided that night that that would be processed separately. Felt like that needed additional notice from the property owners in the canyon and additional discussion with them, and they did not want to hold up the applicant on this request. So there was interest in including them, but to do it at a separate time. And then that night we also, or that day, we actually received a letter from South Utah Valley Electric Service District, so SESD, and that letter has been included in your packet. So these are the changes. So I've just got a little bubble map here that shows, that we have there on the north side, the area that has already been annexed into Salem City that will be removed. You have an area near Elk Ridge that we recently entered into an agreement with to exclude that area. At the center of the map, you have the request from Patterson Construction. Further to the south, you have what's been annexed into Santa Quinn. And then on the left side of that map is the request by Genoa County. So these were the properties, just for information. So if we do move forward in the future, these were the areas near Payson Canyon, or at the entrance of Payson Canyon, that the Planning Commission was considering. They were basically going from the southern end, or near the southern end of the Payson Heights annexation, and just extending it east, and would include any private properties north of that line. This map does show, what's in, the peach area is already annexed and part of Payson. The purple is the proposed annexation. The blue is private property, and green is public lands. Most of it is federal land, with a small little portion, that little small portion there at the entrance. Part of it's owned by Payson City, and the other part is owned by Utah County. So that is something that could be considered at some point in the future. So here is the map. So going off of that bubble map and those changes that Payson staff put together, this is just another representation of it. This is actually, if approval is granted, this is the map that will actually be included as part of the annexation policy plan, and that will be filed with Utah County. So it does include all of those areas. So tonight's meeting is, I guess, technically the second to the last process, or requirement of the process, and that is to conduct a final public hearing to allow the public to respond to these proposed amendments. Also to consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission. Again, the motion did not include the canyon properties, and so just as a follow-up, for your benefit as you are deliberating and formulating a decision, is those bullet points there are the proposed amendments as proposed by staff. There is that fourth bullet point, that various amendments to the text of annexation policy plan. The text has been included in your packet. The only section, there's just one paragraph that hasn't been finalized, and that is a report of this meeting. And so if the City Council is prepared to make a decision on this, please include in your motion that staff finalize that section as a record of this meeting, and that will finalize the plan. And then, of course, it can be filed with Utah County within the timeline required by Utah Code. Yes. So that is my presentation. A lot to cover. I know that Ross Welch with Patterson Construction is here if you have questions for him. Otherwise, the applicant is looking, and staff is looking for a decision on this request. Or again, it is complicated.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the point where we would like to open a public hearing on what we just heard. I'll entertain a motion to open that public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we now have a public hearing. Anyone that would like to talk about what we just heard, please step to the mic, state your name and address, and speak clearly. Try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And again, whether you disagree or agree, and please don't repeat already stated information. So we'll open it up to you. Don't want to be too quick on the gun, but it doesn't look like anybody's going to take advantage of that. So I'll entertain a motion to go ahead and close the public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Council discussion.
I have a few things to discuss on this. One is, I have a little heartburn on the south end where the Santa Quinn's requested not to, now I know they've already annexed it, but I still go back to the time that we had the agreement between Santa Quinn and Payson that would be the Canal Road, would be the division between Payson and Santa Quinn. They just moved in and annexed that, so I have a kind of hard time, and I'm not going to hold this up for that reason, but I just wanted to say that I have a hard time because they went and annexed that, and then we're taking it out now because they've already done it. So.
And there still will be an overlap. I mean, this area would be removed because it's already annexed, but there still is quite an overlap between our annexation policy plan and Santa Quinn's. As we met with Santa Quinn officials, they would like to revisit that interlocal cooperative agreement. They didn't feel like this was the right time because they understand that it's going to take conversations between mayors and council members and staff. And so that is something that they would like to see with that. But yes, this definitely, this would take out that much of the overlap area.
So at one time there was an overlap, right? It was the canal, and then they went in annexed, and then they changed their plan to overlap ours. Is that right?
Historically, the documents and the maps that we have seen is that the annexation declarations is what they were known at the time, is that the High Line was the division. But since that time, you know, as amendments have been made, and then in 2002, when the state code requirement, that's when, you know, we saw the most significant, you know, change with Santa Quinn's plan.
So the interlocal it came to council, everything that was approved through council. And,
yes.
Okay. So the other thing I have is just on the over by Elk Ridge. In the future, when we're looking at other things, add to this, I'd like to add our 4-bay, so at least covers 4-bay at some point in time. If we want to annex that, it's in the agreement. We have it there. So.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it is not included in this.
Right, right.
Yeah.
No, I think that would be important.
Okay.
I have a question where the gravel pit is. Do they want the part that's in Payson too? Or are they just going to go farther west? Katie Quarry.
It's really hard to see on that map there, but that hatched area there by Genola, a portion of it is colored tan. I mean, the base, because it's already annexed into Genola, there's just that white area north of that.
Where they from now?
And it could be where the access is.
I know that the quarries have caused a lot of consternation on West Mountain already on the other side of the mountain. Is this something that we need to be looking at, being concerned about right now? I mean, if you cut out of the conversation right there, and it's a huge impact on the roads and the neighborhoods of people if we get out there. I mean, that's a long ways to go. I don't know if we'll ever get out there, but
there are a lot of diesels that use our roads.
right, that's a huge impact on our.
I'm not sure if it would be an annexation. I mean, if making this amendment would cut us out of the discussion. I mean, you still have, they would have to annex. Genola would have to notify us of an annexation petition because of the proximity to Payson. Or we could.
But if we cut it out right now, we don't really have much to stand on, right?
Well, there's no penalties in Utah code for overlaps.
Right.
Or for a city just moving forward and annexing it regardless of its in our plan.
Sure.
It's just about being good neighbors.
Right.
And I think that going along that line, let's continue that conversation now, Genoa. I mean, they're engaged, you know, with this plan and these ideas, and we've had great communication with Mayor Larson, and maybe we just continue those discussions now to address any development that could occur on the east side of SR 141 that could be potentially impacted. We're still refining that as part of our general plan update of what those uses will be.
Sure.
Is there potential for some non-residential uses there on that side of the road, or will it be residential? If it's residential, it's probably not compatible with. So now's a great time to have that discussion, especially with the general plan update.
I think we need to do that. Just because if they were to annex that, and I know all that property out there, like I said, they're still gonna come in, you know, using the same roads, and they will go out using the same roads. So if Genola, to me, Genola should have to help cover that if they're gonna do that, but still, like you said, that would be a nice place. I mean, it is orchards right now, but when those are people that have actually approached me and said that they wish they were annexed into Payson, and they would probably sell their orchards there. So it's something we need to look at.
And roads are definitely concerned because they'll continue using 12,000 south.
Yes.
And then entering into Payson.
Well, and they're using not just that one, but, you know, they're coming down to 56, and then coming up Utah Avenue, because, and there's a lot of diesel, and 9600 too, they're coming up there.
Well, and with those roads being in the unincorporated area now, you know, maybe it's continued discussions with Utah County as well, as because if I understand correctly, their process, they are required to, as part of their permit, they're required to have a designated route for the truck traffic. Not always are the communities involved in those discussions, but we definitely need to express our concerns with each other. I know we have in the past, and we just need to continue expressing that concern for the improvement of the roads.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I would think they need to be wider, because I've been on that road where it kind of forced people off the road as the diesels are coming by, because the road is so narrow. So we got that.
So if we were to approve it the way it is now with that excluded, you're saying that we can still have talks with Mayor Larson?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not incentive, we can go through the same process we're going through now to include it again.
And he is not asking for annexation of that property at this time, and Keebler Quarry is not requesting to expand their operation.
So it is truly about being good neighbors at
It
this
is
point.
about, yes, and just looking at annexation boundaries. And they have that area in their annexation policy plan. It overlaps with ours. So it's just going along with, we're removing the other areas that we have conflict or overlap with other communities, just doing something similar for their
So
community.
can we keep that white area?
That could be part of your
And
decision.
as we
tonight.
continue on the discussion, and as we work through things, we can change that part, because it's not yellow, there's no
Yeah,
building
these were
right
just
there.
requests that were made along the way.
Right.
And it is the purview of the city council to make adjustments with this before adoption.
I mean, I'd be a little hesitant until we've had the discussions to give up at least that piece. I totally understand they've built there, they've got the community there, we can't get there, and we don't really want to, but at least not for 50 years probably. But, okay. And then we talked about this before, but on that canyon side, Patterson, you're not building on that side. It's just your property that is fenced off to the public, or how does that work?
Ross Welch with Patterson Construction.
If I get an opportunity to speak, I'm always speaking. So, yes, and this is a little bit further down the road of the steps when we come to do zoning and so forth and planning. But our current plan is that more than 2/3 of all this will be dedicated to Payson City as open space, and all that canyon area will be dedicated to Payson City.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion by council?
Yeah, I just have one comment, just so the people are here, know that tomorrow when we're doing that insight in Payson, when we're doing that general plan, this is the area we're talking about. All this in bluish purple is, we aren't just talking about what's in Payson city limits now, but what we're planning on expanding to at some point in time. So that'll be what we'll be discussing tomorrow night. So.
And just a note there, the reason for that plan is to have something, and it can be, as we talked tonight, it can be tweaked, but we need to have a plan.
Yeah, and I think we plan on expanding as property owners choose to sell. It's not Payson's going to go out and we're going to put everything in there.
Yes.
So we just want to have a plan in place in case property owners choose to come in to the community. It needs to be planned out.
All great comments, thank you.
So SD's only serving 8 properties in the Patterson development, and the rest are being served by Payson. Is that? I'm just reading the note here, and I'm just.
With their request, or
yeah,
with
their
their
request.
letter? They were addressing specifically the Payson Heights annexation, so Patterson Construction's request, is that they have indicated that they would be happy to serve, based on their service area, they'd be happy to serve
Sure.
that proposed development.
Just a continuation of what we're going through right now. Okay. Okay, we ready for a motion?
I can make a motion. I make a motion that we adopt the resolution amended to the Payson City annexation policy in accordance with the Utah Code annotated 1953-10-2-401.5 as amended, with the staff finishing the recording of this meeting, and also with keeping in the annex area the piece with Quigley Quarry that overlap with Genoa.
Second?
And let me just add something to that so we can have some additional discussion with Genoa.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been, the motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote starting with Councilwoman Hyde.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. We go on to Resolution 3, Payson Heights Annexation Petition for consideration of acceptance and further review located approximately 1700 south and 100 east. Jill, you're up.
Okay, so this is just a
Yeah.
continuation of that discussion. The applicant is looking at annexing these parcels here that are shown. I didn't have a map that shows which ones are excluded. Anyway, they're wanting to annex all those properties. You accepted it for further review in February of this year. It could not be certified because part of it was outside of our plan boundaries. So we, because of timelines that are in Utah Code, we have to accept it for further review in order for the annexation to move through the process. So we are basically at the beginning of the annexation process. It will be certified if it is accepted tonight. It's about 216 acres. This is the boundary of the annexation.
Okay, discussion.
So do we have to do, we've already done it for further review, so do we have to do it again, even though we already have?
We do, because Utah Code says you have 30 days to certify it.
So will this be done in 30 days, or are we going to bring this back again?
No, and maybe even be done tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, I'll accept the motion if there's no further discussion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution approving the Payson Heights annexation petition for further review.
Second.
It's been seconded. Okay, all those in favor, roll call vote, starting with Councilman Christensen.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. We'll go on to number 4, request for use of the IO overlay zone located at 343 South, 400 West in the R-2-7.5 residential zone.
You have two motions.
Do you want me to say the other one too, or just wait?
You can do both together.
Okay, this will be number 5, request for preliminary and final approval of the proposed, what is, Eric Estate subdivision plat A located at 343 South, 400 West in the, again, R-2-7.5 residential zone. Daniel, go ahead.
Okay, great. And the great news about this one is this is a quick one. I hope. I think everyone hopes. Okay, so here's the area map, R275, as you said. Not a lot there. R275 in every direction. We're looking, you can see we're at 4th West. It's about 335 South, 400 West. So there's an existing home there. We'll get there in a second. So, yep, there's an existing home. So the lot right now is almost a half acre, 110 feet of width, 190 feet deep. So not large enough in the R275 to create 2 lots. And as we'll see, well, as you can see right here, I don't know if I have that red pointer, but in the mid-block section, there's not a good way to access the mid-block. And so the applicant has elected to pursue a flag lot to allow for development mid-block. If there was another way, we tried to pursue another way, but working with the applicant, we can see a good way to reach back here aside from doing a flag lot. So that's what's been proposed, as we will see. So here's the existing home, 343 South, 400 West. You can see a very large side yard, again, not quite large enough for its own lot. And so you have a 20-foot, do we not have the red? We don't. Well, you can see right there in the bottom left, lot 1 and lot 2, so that's the proposed 2-lot subdivision. The pole section, so that's the driveway going back to where the house would be further back, is required to be 20 feet. Here the applicants elected to go 30 feet to give better visibility in the back of the lot, provide some landscaping up front, so that way the house in the back is not so hidden from the street. That was one of the concerns. You can see with the turnaround, it's kind of done an angled hammerhead turnaround to allow better access for emergency vehicles, and just better movement of cars as they go park back of the house on lot 2. The setbacks are modified somewhat, so the house is brought further toward the street. So instead of a 25-foot, oh, look at that. Instead of a 25-foot front setback right here, it's a 20-foot front setback, so the house can be moved up a little bit. This is increased to be a 15-foot side yard setback instead of an 8, which pushes the house further north to increase the visibility. Then with fencing, we can go through here. So building materials, so the primary materials would include brick, stone, stucco, not all of these, but LP wood siding or hardy board. Applicant doesn't know exactly what kind of exterior materials, but wanted to ensure that whatever materials they are, they're good. Design standards, so it's a side-loaded garage, so the front of the home isn't a giant garage. So when you look back, you can see the home, not just a garage. We covered the setbacks as well as visibility. And with fencing, it's not on the plans. One of the things we talked briefly with Planning Commission, and I think the applicant's wanting to kind of get some feedback from City Council to see how important this is, but the applicant's willing to do more of an opaque fence on the side yard. So in this area right here, so something that's see-through, so there's slats every so often, rather than a solid 6-foot fence. That way, at an angle, you can still see through here and get better visibility, both from the house to the street and cars coming up and vice versa. And that about rounds it out. The criteria here, well, with the overlay zone, it needs to meet the requirements. It's a legislative action, so the council has broad discretion.
Then with preliminary and final plat, it needs to be consistent with city code and land use goals of the city. The IO zone does state that it needs to be compatible land use. It asks staff to look at other alternatives rather than using a flag lot, which we've done, and we don't really see a good way of interior block development here. And so with that, city council can approve, remand, or deny. So do you have any questions?
I have some discussion. I think staff right now has the building authority to do like a 3-lot subdivision, if I remember right, don't they? So it doesn't have to come to city council, is that right?
Do a 3-lot subdivision?
Yeah, up to three lots.
Oh, without the overlay? Yes. Yes.
So my question is, we have probably lots of land in the city that could be flagged lots. And so I was wondering if we ought to have some kind of ordinance and code that staff can do that internally instead of having every one of these have to come to city council. It just seems like for something fairly simple, we ought to have a way to do that. It speeds up the process. We have faith in you guys doing it if we have it right, instead of having to bring these all up every time. So that's something I really think we ought to look at.
I think that's a great suggestion to streamline the process.
Yeah. I think the applicant would like that as well.
I think that's
So we'll take a look at that.
And this is an effort to infill lots to make sure that we take care of the lots that aren't unimproved that can develop into a weed patch, and so that's the process that we want to follow.
Right. The thing we try to balance is the weed patch versus the people that want larger lots. Or if we take all land where we have larger lots and convert them into, new flag lots, then all of a sudden we lose our deeper lots in town. So it is something we try to balance. Some people like the large lots, some people use it as a weed patch or junkyard.
I am a little concerned with this because I live on one of those big blocks with large interior areas. And I worry that if we release that and relinquish that power to the city and staff to just do that, are the neighbors notified? Do they have an opportunity to contest this? Where right now they do, because it has to come before us in order to contest it. That would be my only concern, but I can see the advantage to it. But where I live on a big, there's acres of land in the middle of our block that could be built on, so it makes me nervous to see this happen. So.
Well, one thing, if we had an ordinance for this, we could put in what requirements are, who has to be notified, and things like that. So they would have to.
And still be taken care of by staff because of the ordinance, right?
So that's just my concern. As long as it's all written in there and we're covering those areas.
Yeah, or even the planning commission level. Well, we'll have to look and see what options we have.
Okay.
I just think the optimal thing would be if you could just go straight through the back and have houses on each side.
Yeah.
It's just something we need to look at, because I think if we start putting this, we just don't want to have, that we could have done that, and now we can't because they're too close to where the road would have been, or something like that.
Good. It may cost a home in the process, or even if it does, if you split the blocks and started doing half blocks, like you were saying, 200-foot wide blocks versus 400-foot wide blocks the other day.
But this particular one, it fits that type of home, and that's about all it would do.
Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't a really good alternative here. There are homes around that entire block. You have to knock out some homes.
Go back to the fence line.
This slide?
No, I think that's where you were talking
You're
about.
talking about the fence line and slatted fences.
Yeah, there's not a specific slide for it.
Oh, okay. So does the fence go right up to the edge of the road? I think you talked about it and I was kind of spaced out. I know some people have been concerned about line of sight. Like, should that entrance fence be like a little 4-foot fence instead, so people can see as they come out, as opposed to a slatted fence?
So there's not any proposed fence right now, but any fence in the front setback, so anything really in front of this house, does need to be reduced height because of the clear vision triangle on both sides, so up here and over here. So those would need to be short. It can't go up to a 6-foot fence, until we hit the side yard setback in the rear.
On both sides?
On,
Yes.
So you got a
Both
30-foot
sides.
driveway, right?
Both sides.
Both sides of the pole, yeah, right there.
oh, right here as well, yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, now because it is an overlay, there could be additional requirements imposed. That was concerned that you wanted it further back, and that's where the slats comes from.
Well, I just wanna
You
make
could
sure, like-
say it's, 70% opaque, 50% opaque or something. Which the applicant's willing to do that.
I just wanna make sure the kids in cars can see, you know,
Right,
people go
especially,
zipping in and out of there really fast, as the kids walking down the sidewalk and can't be seen.
right.
Well,
4 foot.
yeah,
Oh.
it's in order.
The planning commission recommended 42 inches. I think they were saying it could be opaque above 42. Yeah, opaque or 42 inches. Yeah.
Reason I know that is I've addressed it. Okay, we ready for a motion, or do we need more discussion?
And there was a public hearing at the planning commission with no comments. And the applicant is here in the audience if you'd like to speak at all.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll just take these two one at a time. I'll entertain a motion on item number 4.
I move that we accept the IO infill overlay zone on parcel 08-063-0011, located at 343 South 400 West in the R2-7.5 residential zone.
Was that the 4 or number 5?
That was 4.
Okay. There's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll go to motion, item number 5, is there a motion for that one?
And I move that we accept the preliminary and final approval for Eric Estates subdivision Plat A, arranged on Utah County parcel 08-063-0011, also located at 343 South 400 West in the R2.75 residential zone.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion is seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll move to
Mayor, can I
Yes.
just,
You bet.
if it's okay, we just ask staff to look into doing flag lots with an ordinance and see what they can do.
Okay. Okay, then, with that note, we'll move on to resolution 6, the agreement with Central Utah 911 Agency. Scott, Chief Spencer? Sorry?
Mayor and Council, it's good to be with you. Just want to give you some information. We became part of our Utah Valley Special Service District with our dispatch center. So it used to be part of what was Utah County Dispatch, and we all take these into Utah County Sheriff's Office. And as we continue to grow and have more calls, more demand on the dispatchers, the fees continue to go up. So all the cities came together, except for Provo, Orem, Pleasant Grove, Springville, and BYU, and created a special service district for our dispatch. So we're part owners of this dispatch. We've operated for several years, and with the state, they're pushing for consolidation, meaning reducing down the number of dispatch centers we have, and Utah County, we have a lot. So they're starting to force people through grants and revenues to combine together. Juab County, Nephi City, we're being dispatched out of Juab County Sheriff's Office with no certified trained dispatchers. So several years ago, we coordinated with them and contracted that we would dispatch for them, and we have done so. They've asked that they can become part of our dispatch agency or center, and they've been paying a proportionate share, so it's not going to change any of the costs we pay out. But because it's across county lines, we can't be a special service district. So working with Lieutenant Governor Cox's office, we've had to change to an agency. So hence for the change from Utah Valley Dispatch Special Service District to Central Utah 911. So that will include Utah and Juab counties. So it's just more of a formality. We've been meeting as a board now, so all the cities have signed this interlocal agreement to switch from a special service district to an agency. Not really any change in the fees that we're paying. Of course, every year it's evaluated and our fees go up or down a little bit based on calls and some population calculations. But for the most part, it's just a name change and allowing Nephi City and JUAC to become partners with us in this taxing agency.
Just coming into compliance with what needs to be done, right?
Yes, with the Utah Communication Authority, they're really pushing for that, and it really helps out JUAP. It makes a difference for us in the south end because we do have relationships with the sheriff's office and with their fire EMS, so we're all in the same communication plans, and makes things go a lot smoother for us.
Any council discussion? Okay, if not, I guess I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we pass a resolution with adopting an agreement for the Central Utah 9/11 Agency, copy of agreement with the mayor signing that.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Councilman Christensen.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Number 7, resolution proposed pay plan for the Payson City Police Department for sworn police officers. Melanie, are you still here?
I'm still here.
Okay.
Okay, we want to get on the police officer Winters request to see if we can get approval for a proposed pay plan. We're going to do an overview of the current positions, our turnover and attrition in the police department, the proposed positions, and the proposed pay plan for the sworn police officers, our proposal, implementation, and the fiscal impact. So just a quick overview. We currently have 20 police officers with one that will start in December. So for a total of 21 approved in the budget. These are police officers by year of service. And you'll note that we have about 55% of the police officers that have 10 years or less experience. This is the current salary range that we have. We have for the police chief, we have a lieutenant position, a sergeant. We have a corporal position that the police chief created in 2017. And at that time, we were in the process of working with Mike Swallow on our wage study. And so at that point, we did the best we could with market and really didn't have a range for that position. And then you'll see our current police officer position there at the bottom. In the last 3 years, we've had 12 sworn police officers that have left Payson City, and 5 of those 12 have left to work for other police agencies. You can see the others were with retirement. As we look at recruitment and training costs per new police officer recruit, this is just an estimate and not all inclusive, but we just want to give you a snapshot. Recruitment and selection, uniform training, and it's an FTO, it's about 13 weeks, so it's costly to have turnover within the police department. So our estimated total cost is about $15,455. So with this proposed pay plan that we're bringing forward, one of the elements that we've created is a senior police officer position, which requires 4 years of service as a certified police officer, and some of the functions, this position would serve as a field training officer, train some of the new police recruits, or provide informal peer counseling and guidance. And with this position and pay range, our hope is that this will provide a mechanism to help retain our more experienced police officers and also have the ability to, again, attract more experienced police officers going back to, we have kind of a young force right now. So this, I don't know if you can read this well, but this is the sworn police officer pay plan that was included in your packet. Again, with the pay ranges slightly moving towards our current police officer. Again, we were at about $20.53 per hour. This takes the hourly rate to about $21.61 as a starting rate, and again gives us the opportunity to implement a senior police officer position. Our senior police officers, being a smaller agency, it's somewhat of a challenge to retain our officers, and we become somewhat of a training ground, if you will. And so we want to have the ability there again to keep some of our senior police officers. So our hope is with this proposed pay plan that we can reward some of our senior police officers are lagging quite behind in the pay range and go to other entities and work for a higher range. And so we want to keep some of that experience here at Payson.
Can you answer one question for me real quick?
Yes.
I didn't quite understand what is job value? What is that figure? Where does it come from?
Okay, that measures job knowledge, and I didn't include that. It includes job knowledge, educational requirements, experience, risk factors. We have a point scale that, as we worked with Personal Concepts, that helped us come up with a wage study. Those were some of the factors that assigned that job value based on those positions. Good question. So again, what is being proposed tonight is to adopt the proposed pay plan for sworn police officers, which includes, again, a new senior police officer pay range and wage adjustments for those police officers who are eligible to be placed in the senior police officer pay range. And we have roughly about 5 or 6 of those officers that would fall into that category. And then wage adjustments for some police officers who do not fall within their assigned range or the proposed range that we're proposing. For example, we brought on some new police officers, and if we bump our starting wage to the $21.61 and we're hiring here at $20.53, we need to at least get them to the minimum of the range so that if we're hiring new officers to be competitive, that those officers are not falling behind. And then those wage adjustments are proposed to take effect January 6th. You might be asking, why implement this in January? Why are we not waiting for the new budget? We are really having a challenge, again, with recruitment. Chief Bishop continually sends me posts and contacts me and says, we've got another officer that's being recruited by another entity, and look at all the perks and the benefits and the wages. So we've been researching what other entities are doing. The competition is getting very, very difficult to compete with. And so this is one of the reasons why we thought we really cannot wait. The climate that's going on, many of the entities did implement some changes back in July, and we just felt like at this time we really need to move forward and be competitive, and we need to continue to study that and move forward. So again, this is just a summary that we are getting fewer qualified candidates that are coming in, and as a smaller police department, again, our police department needs to be competitive so that we can continue to retain a more experienced workforce. this would not require a budget adjustment. You'll recall you did budget for a new police officer in this new budget. That new police officer is currently going through post, will not complete post until November. So we've got 6 months of that wage savings that will offset any adjustments that need to be made to bring the wages for the officers in line.
So what are we paying them right now? I mean, compared to other places around us who keep stealing our people.
Well, and some of the other, our pay, as we did a wage study and we surveyed this study, the proposed pay plan comes, as I included, it's about 45 different entities throughout the state, unified Utah County, and other cities that were included in that. And as we did the study, that's where we came up with the data to come up with the current pay range that is being proposed.
So we would be competitive
To be
with all these
competitive,
other
correct.
cities. Okay.
So besides the hourly wage, did you look at benefits and see, did you compare the benefits too? So that was in the equation or not?
We did look at the benefits and some of the things at this point, and that may be further studied as we are still working overall citywide as we bring the budget and have discussions with Sarah during the budget process. Some of the entities, because the Tier 2 police officers has become a major recruitment challenge because of it's a lesser contribution from the employer, as well as yes, they need more years of service. And so that, again, is hampering. Some other cities are offsetting and paying some toward the same amount that you would pay for a Tier 2 police officer. They're giving that in 401k so that they're equal. So that's one thing. They're also offering signing bonuses, tuition reimbursement. Some entities are paying full, offering health insurance, no pay to the employees. So they're just, those are some of the wrinkles. So yes, we have them looking at benefits. Probably still need to do a little bit of a deeper dive on that, but we feel like we're still a little bit behind on the wages, even with the benefits, and we're not offering any incentives with regard to the benefits. We still have a good, nice benefit package, but there are still things that other entities are being a little bit more aggressive with the police.
Before I ask for further discussion, in full disclosure, I'd like to let everybody know, obviously I'm a retired police officer, retired from this department. I have seen firsthand some of these issues, if not all of these issues, and although I do not get a vote, I fully support the motion to do that for officers, knowing full well that it is extremely expensive for us to put in time and training those officers just to have them go to another department. So I just wanted to inject that before I go to further discussion with the council. And it's, I'll talk to the council about this too. Mike Hardy has mentioned that although this is not a public hearing, since you brought it up, Mike, if you would like to speak to that, we'll limit it at that because it's not a public hearing and it is our purview to do that, but I'll certainly give you some time if you'd like to talk.
You want me to talk right
Yes,
now?
go ahead.
I want to thank the mayor and the council for giving me the opportunity to speak. I know when I ran for office way back in 2009 and was elected, one of my major concerns was the police department. And I have a question. Brad, do you remember how many officers we had back then? I know you weren't here, but do you have any records that would indicate?
In what year?
We had 2009, 2010?
19, I think.
19. So we're talking about 20 right now. It seems to me we talked at one point when I'm still on the council of 23 to 24 officers. So one of my questions is, are we really able to provide the kind of coverage to Payson City that we have when we only have 20 officers. Again, who many of them are probably more entry level. Is that correct? More of them are, we're doing a lot of training.
Yeah, we're getting to where they're 3 and 4 years trained now, so we do have some new ones, but we're bringing another one on in December, so that'll help right there too. So
is this proposal going to stop the bleeding? I'm not privy to all the documents that you may have or the council's seen in the last year, but I'm wondering if this is just a stopgap measure, that if really we should be more aggressive as a city. I think public safety is really important. As a citizen, I know I've had my home broken into twice since I've lived in Payson. I'm sure that's a common occurrence, maybe more than should happen. I want to make sure that whatever the council decides to do with this, that we're doing what's going to be best for the city, which means we may need to consider more. I'm just bringing that up as a concerned citizen. Sustainability is a question of mine. You know, we've taught our public employees as a whole, or what grossly underpaid. We were losing a lot of our employees. Dave, you probably could speak to that. We did a number of things that try to bring our employees up to a midpoint, but have we done anything since then? Is there any plan in place for us to be competitive with other cities? That's another question I have. Don't know what the impact on other the city finances will be. Obviously, anything that you do as councilman, the mayor, or as the city does is going to cost. It's going to have to be paid from somewhere. And I'm just concerned that this may be a stopgap measure. And I want to make sure that the public is taken care of, that we have public safety that is as effective as it can be. And I would like to see 24 officers, 23, 24 officers. I don't know what we are. If I remember right, we were grossly understaffed based upon a comparison with cities the same size as we are. Would that be correct?
we're about 3 men.
3 men down?
That's about all, yeah.
Yeah, so, and to me that's significant when you have 20 officers, and one of my nightmares, I used to tell Tom Runyon when he was the police chief when I first on the council, that my nightmare was that there would be a call in the middle of the night that we couldn't cover because we had another major call somewhere else, and there was not anything else that the rest of the cities in the valley could help us on. I really think we need to be looking. I'm in favor of what you are talking about doing here. I'm just questioning, is it enough, and do we need more officers? So that's just my major concern here, is that this is not a stopgap measure. We don't want to be a training ground as much as we can. With a city our size, that's going to happen anyway. But we need to make sure that we have some good officers that have got some experience, that know this city, that have the citizens of Payson, know them, and trust them for the kind of service that they provide. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mike. Any further discussion from the council?
Just a couple of things. One is I really like the senior police officer step, because they don't have to be waiting for a position to open to be able to move up to something. So I think that's great as they get more experience. That should help us keep some people there. And besides the cost of training somebody, it's just the cost of losing experience. I think that's a big factor. So I'm all for this, and I think that another thing is you have to look at, and there's lots of studies, pay is very, very important, but also just and this is from us as city council, mayor, staff, and everything, just the being in an environment that you feel like you're appreciated and you're happy to work there makes a lot of difference too, besides pay. So I think that's one thing we always have to remember. It's more than just pay, but I want to pay the police what we can pay them.
You know, Mike, I totally agree with you. I think we need to go further than just the pay increase. I know it's going to cost us more, but I look at police maybe different than other people do. I know that nationwide there is a police shortage, and they are having to pay a lot more to keep these people. I would never want to be a policeman and have somebody pull a gun on me or a knife or something. I've always thought that the police officers were never paid enough anyway. That, you know, they are in situations that probably none of us, except, you know, the mayor has been there. We wouldn't want to be in those situations, and we would hope that those policemen would be there to take care of those problems. So I totally agree that we need to increase their pay, but I totally think that we need to have a lot more perks for them because, you know, they're the ones putting their lives on the line for us. They're protecting us, and I want that protection.
Okay, I truly appreciate all the comments that have been made here. Are we ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposed pay plan for the Payson City Police Department for the sworn police officers.
Is there a second?
Can I add something? And that we will look into other things that we can do to make it even a more incentive, to keep it incentivized so that.
Okay.
Okay.
So your motion stands?
Yes.
Right?
I'll second it.
Okay. There's a second. Calls for a roll call vote, starting with Councilwoman Hyatt.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. We go to E, the work session. Dave, you're up again.
Mayor and Council, we, back in September 20th of 2017, Utah County Housing Authority came and had a work session with the council. They would like to come back and continue that dialogue. They have Linnell from the Housing Authority and someone from the Wasatch Mental Health. So this is a work session. We can discuss this. I just wanted to point out we do need to go into a closed session after this. We did get an offer on some property, so after this is over, we can take this. Linnell?
Thank you for being patient with us. I know you came expecting sooner than this, but thanks for being patient.
You are welcome. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yes, perfect. And I do have a handout, if you would prefer a handout to make notes or write on or anything. Yes, no, maybe? Okay.
Councilmember Mayor, I'm Doran Williams, I'm with Wasatch Mental Health. And I want to squash some rumors I'm hearing. First of all, there again, you know, we built the building, we have land there. When the Housing Authority approached us to doing some affordable housing, we told them we had land that we could sell or we could trade, because I know that's not necessarily set up in your plan to put housing units on that land. And so part of our understanding is there again, the land would be then traded or sold to buy land somewhere that we could then meet your master plan to find affordable housing that we'll be talking about. So that way, I know there's always been worry, are they gonna build there, what are they gonna do with it? That wasn't what we agreed to. But understand, that land would then be traded or sold, so we could purchase land somewhere else that would fit in your master plan that would work in that realm. So with that understanding, I'll let her go ahead and finish your presentation.
My name's Linnell Smith. I'm the director of the Housing Authority of Utah County, and that was Doran Williams with Wasatch Mental Health. Until it comes up, you have a paper copy. So this is just an opportunity to partner together between the Housing Authority, Wasatch Mental Health, and Payson City to provide some affordable housing for those in need in this community. So as Doran said, Wasatch Mental Health owns the land adjacent to the new office building in Payson by the hospital that you're all familiar with, I believe. Wasatch is the Medicaid provider for mental health services in Utah County. And we found that their clients struggle to find affordable and available housing opportunities within the county. And as we know, our population's growing, inventory's not keeping up with that growth, and these folks that have some barriers are finding it more and more difficult to find housing that's affordable.
It would be ideal to have housing within walking distance to services. As Doran said, conversations have evolved and we're just looking at possibilities at this point, but we're wanting to partner some way to provide housing within walking distance, if possible, to the services that are provided. The Housing Authority has a successful history of providing affordable housing throughout Utah County, and we focus on special needs population. We serve those that make below 80% of the area median income, which most of your police officers would be making if they have a family of 4 or more, just as a heads up. Our emphasis is on those at 50 and 30% of the area median income. Wasatch and the Housing Authority have created successful partnerships previously in providing housing and care for clients through intensive wraparound services. So the targeted population would be disabled adults who have a history of homelessness, and they need supportive services to increase the likelihood of success in the community. And this would be permanent housing, not transitional use. They won't be like a homeless shelter. They would be living there permanently until they're able to move on in the community. And supportive housing is an evidence-based housing intervention that combines non-time restricted affordable housing assistance, so they don't have to move out after a certain period of time, with wraparound services for people with disabilities who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. And Doran, feel free to step in at any time. So right now we have some permanent supportive housing in Utah County, scattered throughout the county, where we have partnerships with Wasatch Mental Health, and it is working very well.
I have a question on that. When it says 2, what does the 2 mean?
There are 2 clients in Payson receiving services under this model at this time.
Because isn't there in the south end of Payson, the whole community is?
There's a 26 complex.
Right, so there's a lot more than 2, isn't there?
There's some of those clients that have Housing Authority vouchers, and there's others that basically we subsidize their rent basically. And so there again, they may not have vouchers done by Housing Authority, but there are clients we may subsidize, and we have house parents there. We've been there for 25 years or longer.
Where's that at?
It's on 9th. Yeah, my voice is going like, it's over at 900 West.
It's by Steps Recovery.
Well, yeah.
So 9th South.
930 West.
Be the I know where that is.
Robert's Step spot, the main, 2 or 3 back behind apartments. And we have the other ones kind of directions get you wrong. We're headed towards this theater. I don't know if that's northeast, west, I'm getting the Payson, I'm sorry. And so, yeah, that's where they're located.
So yes, there are more clients in the community that are receiving rental subsidy, that they don't have this intensive wraparound service with a history of homelessness that we're trying to stabilize around.
She'll show you a number, but let me give you an updated number that'll come. I mean, we're serving about 554 clients at Payson residents, with the service dollars about almost $5.7 million being done for those 554 clients here at Payson. She'll show you one that'll say about $3 million. As our CFO updated me today, I think there's a lot going on. Just for your information. That's there.
There is a need in the community to serve these clients. It's the bottom, I guess the bottom line is what we're trying to point out. So who would be in these units that we're looking at creating? Based on those, this prior population, 36 in Provo and 39 throughout the rest of the county. The average head of household age would be 43. 19 of those households would be single bedroom families, either a single person or a couple. Average size of a family household would be 3.5. Average annual income is just under $10,000. And income comes from Social Security, wages, TANF, which is welfare, and child support. Average length of time of being on our program is about 30 months right now. And the average tenant rent is $192 based on their income.
So after 30 months, then what happens?
Well, they can stay as long as they need to. That's just our current people, our 36 people. That's how long they've been on the program so far.
So
they move, they get married, they get another job, they're more stable, they move out in the community.
So they don't get to sell that?
No.
They
back on the house?
No.
Or how does that work? So if they move out,
It's
The
like a
housing
hospital.
authority would own the property
Okay,
still,
that's
and a new
fine.
client would move in that meets those qualifying.
but they just live there as long as they want.
Correct.
Sounds like
As long as we met those
criteria.
So these were statistics that were sent to me recently, as Doran says, and they're hard to read, they're small, I'm sorry. This is for the county, and maybe they're easier to read in your packet. It would be for me. Let me find that page. Well, maybe not. We'll go to South County, because that one's bigger. South of Provo, they're serving 1,400 clients. 554 being in Payson right now. At service dollars of $3 million a year, and Doran says it's up to $5 million. So you can see that Payson has a huge presence in their need for services and tools.
So in Spanish Fork, it says 545, so they got what we are?
About.
They're not the same. The clients that we're serving, in those two cities, yes.
Why do we have a high amount? Is that
Or is that a greater need?
Yeah, well, is that because the services are here, or is there just a greater need?
Well, understand, the services were in Spanish Fork. Also, the majority of those individuals have Medicaid, so probably 70% of those have Medicaid, which then come to us as the provider. So those are again your low income folks on Medicaid, who's on Social Security disability, they're also what we're talking about here. There's also some of those that go through the school districts, we have staff throughout all the schools, all your schools throughout the school district, the Eagle School District. And so if we're providing services in the school, they'll be counted as clients because the residents in this area, in the school district is there.
And then it continues to grow. The growth of the Utah County is focused on South Utah County.
How come, I mean, there's only a difference of 9 people between Payson and Spanish Fork, but it's almost a $1.5 million discrepancy?
The prior form, if you can find Payson halfway down there, is broke out by number of clients, and then the cost for adult services and the cost for child services.
And I can give you updated ones, also in bigger format.
Oh, good.
if you'd like.
So it depends on the services that's being required by the client. It may just be a once-a-week group therapy that's going to be way less expensive than an intensive treatment.
So we're paying a lot more for adults than they are.
You're not paying it.
No, that's what I'm saying, it's being paid, we have more adults.
So Payson has 331
Spanish
adults, 234 children, in that breakdown.
It's like 2.6 million compared to 628,000.
And if you go to the updated ones that CFO just gave me today, the total amounts for big, is 3.3 million there.
So the way I understand it, we have the same amount of people that need help, but our people need a lot more help than Spanish Fork.
Their services are more expensive.
Well, the services that they need so they need more services, so it costs more.
They're getting more.
Right.
Are they already here? Or we-
Yes.
So these are already here, this is these
I
are
know,
numbers.
This is last fiscal year.
But for what we're looking for, is it people that would come here, or is it people that are already here?
Look at them. Look at them.
Good question.
In Utah County, 17% of our renter households, or in Utah, 17% of the renter households live in Utah County. And 21% of Utah County renter households are extremely low income. So 1 in 5 of the people that are renting are making below 30% of the AMI in Utah County, which is $14,000 per family. And in Utah County, there's a gap of units that are both affordable and available for this population of 7,500. And there is a gap of affordable and available rental units in Payson City for this population of 240, based on a recent report from the state of Utah. So these folks are not able to live on their own. The inventory is not there. They're doubled up. They're living with mom and dad. They're living with grandma. They're in the basement. They're couch surfing, or could be on the streets. But they're already in the community here.
So I agree that people on the streets becoming more and more difficult to find affordable housing across all income levels. So what we're proposing, again, based on zoning and what the city's comfortable with and the needs of Wasatch, 25 to 50 units that are 1 and 2 bedroom, preferably on a single site, new construction, close to supportive services, with intensive case management and opportunity for social life and employment skills training. And again, this is permanent housing, not transitional unit. So how will these clients be identified, Tracy? This is your question. Service providers right now in Utah County have identified 276 clients in the Mountain Land Continuum of Care area, which is Utah, Summit, Wasatch counties, that are homeless and in need of services. 46 of those are families and 230 are single households. So as a state, well, nationwide, as we get funding from the government for homeless services, states compete for this funding through their continuum of cares. And we are required to have a homeless management information system, the UHMIS system, where clients are interviewed as they come in for services. They can be interviewed at Wasatch, they can be interviewed at the Food and Care Coalition, they could be interviewed at the Housing Authority, Community Action, United Way, wherever they're accessing services. If they say they're homeless, we try to identify what their needs are, how vulnerable are they, how many episodes of homelessness have they had in a period of time, and then they're ranked based on their vulnerability and put into this HMIS system. And then every 2 weeks, service agencies in the county meet together to review the list, the top priority list, and identify those that are ready to be housed based on where they're at in their treatment, or if they want housing. Some folks are very content to be homeless on the street. And then we try to match them with available units that are in the community. So some could be in Payson, some could be from Provo, but they would all be from Utah County at this point. Does that make sense? And the services that we're wanting to provide is comprehensive mental health and substance abuse services, intensive case management, therapy is needed individually or in a group, medication management, psychiatric services, social skills. Anything else going on?
Just the whole gamut of mental health services. Like the ones we currently have in Payson, we bring into forward to our clubhouse, to employment skills and training currently. So that we transfer up to Provo for some mental health people up there also.
And these are other projects in the community that the Housing Authority owns or is a partner with for special populations. This is a little over 3/4 of an acre in American Fork. We have 12 units, 3 buildings of senior housing with set aside for homeless veterans and victims of domestic violence.
How long has that one been in place?
Since 2011. This is the inside of it. As you come back through the bathroom, there's the laundry, and then go through the bedroom, there's the laundry and the bathroom facility there. This is a project in American Fork we just received occupancy in May for on 2¼ acres. The city actually identified this site. They used their EDA funds to purchase the property and then sold it to the Housing Authority to develop this project. It's on a long strip of property that borders train tracks on the bottom of the piece, and it was just a dirt field, and so we partnered with the city to develop this housing, 26 units, 7 buildings, has a walking path to the left right along the train tracks, raised flower bed, garden beds for the residents to use. This is the inside of that property, the living room, dining room area, and the kitchen. And then to the right is the bedroom. And then through the bedroom is the bathroom and the laundry again. This is a project we did in Springville in 2016, I think it was, 15 or 16. 31 units, 1 building with commercial space on the ground floor. And we have units set aside, 5 for homeless, and other units set aside for victims of domestic violence and veterans. And this is for 55 and older on 1½ acres.
enhancement side of that project. So the partnerships we're talking about is Wasatch providing the client outreach and the wraparound services, the housing authority developing, owning, and managing the property and providing rental subsidy if the clients need it, and then Payson City's partnership in community support and zoning as well. And the outcomes of this would be stabilized and healthy clients, reduced homelessness in our community, attractive affordable housing, and role models for other communities to consider as a successful project in fulfilling their needs in their own communities. And then, any questions you may have?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, I see the size of them. Can we do like studios, just smaller than that? I mean, that's what a lot of people are living in now, is just a studio, and, you know, it's not very big, 350 square feet or something, and it has a bathroom, you know, you should have that. Couldn't you get more out of it if you made it, I know it's gonna cost more, but you could house more people.
Sure, and there's definitely efficiencies in creating smaller units, larger projects. It is cheaper to build a high-rise than it is a fourplex, but I prefer the smaller models. I like the outside entrances separate, so the clients feel like they have their own porch area, their own entrance. It's more private than in like a hotel setting where there's all these, you know, doorways entering in the halls.
So are there any buildings anywhere that could be updated to?
I don't know. That's a challenge to find. We have lots of vacant buildings in the community. We've got a lot of blighted old motels in the community, not just Payson, but throughout Utah County that we're looking at trying to partner with owners, possibly purchase, rehab, and provide more housing. But the bottom line is Utah County is behind the curve in affordable housing.
I have a question. The apartments that are up behind the post office, are they Utah housing?
They are not from us. They are subsidized, but the Housing Authority of Utah County does not own them or manage them.
You wanna buy those?
If they were for sale at the right price, we could possibly consider that.
Because we have a lot of crime in that
The
area.
Mountain View and the Grand Vista.
Yes.
They are not ours.
Grand Vista not so much, but Mountain View.
I understand the Grand Vista is up for acquisition rehab right now. Mountain View, I'm not sure.
Across the
The
street,
senior complex
between the church and the highway.
Off the highway.
on the corner of that highway. When I was here a year ago, someone had asked about police calls. We have a similar property in Springville. I haven't shown you that. It's 9 apartments. It's shared housing. 8 of those apartments are 2 bedrooms, so each client gets their own voucher and they share a bedroom with a roommate. It's challenging to find folks that are compatible and not aggravating conditions that way. We've owned that property for several years, since the 90s anyway. And I checked crime statistics with Springville City, so it's a similar project. And in the last 5 years, they can only go back 5 years, there were 79 calls. And most of them are what you would expect from a normal neighborhood. 7 welfare checks, 31 medical, 2 harassments, 1 death investigation, 6 animal problems, 2 thefts, 3 citizen contact, 1 lost property, 1 criminal mischief, 1 trespassing, 1 fire. We failed to ask if these were resident-initiated calls or community-initiated calls, so I don't have those numbers, but 79 calls over 5 years for 9 apartments is not bad, I don't think, for 9 households.
So based on that average, we would expect about 9 a month for 50 units.
Or less if you've got your support services on site or close by.
Well, there were 9 units 1 month.
I would say ask your chief about the ones that are in Payson we have. There may be a little increase, I don't know exactly the stats on it.
We don't have a lot of calls down there, but we do field some.
But they're not.
And the Mountain View apartments are where?
Oh,
No,
the
that's
Mountain
Ross.
View. Right here at 930 West is the property. he's
Yeah,
referring to.
yeah,
Properties
so
that we own,
you,
Right.
that we then manage and take care of the clients.
Yeah.
gotta make sure,
So,
comparing apples to apples there.
Right, that's why I was confused there. Sorry.
Well, we got to give you an idea. Again, if we're managing clients, we got case manager, we got house parents there, that'd give you a rough idea where things are at.
I think that's something important to look at.
But that's also gonna increase our medical calls too.
Very well could.
Yeah, it will.
Wasatch also owns properties in Provo next to
Yeah,
only
maybe
7
apartments
feet.
there.
And Jurgen Korbanka, Dr. Korbanka couldn't be here, but he reported that he checked with Provo Police and they did not have any concerns and felt like Wasatch was a good resource in the community. He also reached out with Payson, I'm not sure who he talked to, if it was you or not. But he
Jurgen?
said that, yeah, Jurgen.
I haven't talked.
Okay.
Probably Randy, I guess.
Who?
Randy?
I talked to Randy.
Okay. He reports that Wasatch has been good work within the community. There may be a little bit more policing work in those neighborhoods, but the calls are nonviolent, non-regulated welfare checks.
You would need a facility right by Wasatch Mental Health.
Ideally, that would make sense. The services are there.
I'm concerned,
Does it have to be or no?
yeah, and you, and this has been brought up to us before, several years ago, and we've got a lot of elderly people that live in that thing there that I'm really concerned about.
Getting crowded out.
Getting crowded out by that. So,
how do they get crowded out? It's a designated 55-plus community over there, and the other one, like, how do you crowd them out?
Well, we're putting storage units on one side and subsidized housing on the other, and that's...
But that's still a designated space, like, they don't have access, I mean, that's not their property, and I'm not trying to be mean.
No, I understand.
But I don't understand the crowding out. I understand the concerns about safety and all of that, I totally get that. But I don't get crowding out, because that's gonna be...
My understanding was it was like phased out, that it was supposed to grow as a community, and it's kind of hit its boundaries as to where it's at, but it's not designed to go that way. It was supposed to grow.
Well, a lot of things are supposed to grow, but it all depends on who the property owner is and why they choose to do
The
it.
master plan, when they bought it, that was the intent, that it was supposed to be this larger area of community, and as it grew, and everything else moved in around them, so. I'm just playing the devil's
No,
advocate on
well,
that.
I am too, I totally understand that. Woodbury's supposed to build 20 years ago, and they're building now, so.
we're not talking about Woodbury.
Well, I know, but the point is, the things change.
And I'm looking at some of these, you have some older housing, housing for older people, 55 plus, the seniors. 55 plus isn't that far away anymore, so. So that, but I mean, is that a possibility to designate this particular to that because of the surrounding housing that's in the area?
Frankly, and Warren, you can respond to this better probably, this population doesn't live that long. They've been homeless for a long time.
Right.
They don't live into their 60s.
Well, but the American Fork had one that was 55 plus.
Right, that's what your housing.
For senior housing.
It wasn't for Wasatch.
It's only 5 units.
So this one's not gonna have domestic violence or veterans or 55 plus, it's just strictly,
Correct.
as long as they fit that homeless category. But it's not strictly for those types of.
And for folks who have had a history of homelessness and need supportive services for living independently.
So when you were talking, he was talking about taking that property and maybe selling it to somebody else where you can exchange property somewhere else?
Harry, we want to put it in your plan, because there again, the intention we bought that wasn't to put housing there. But it was to take the land that we can do something else, if needs to be, to sell it, whatever needs to happen. If there's another place in your plan that works. So, we understand that's not the plan, put it there. We just offer that as an opportunity to give some kind of leverage to the possible housing.
So do you have any kind of statistics in these other cities, how much low-income housing there is? That you guys don't know?
state of Utah looks at everyone's moderate, affordable income housing tax, and they have statistics on, by city, how many units are rentals and how many renters are within those income categories based on census data. So yes, I could provide some.
I'm just wondering if we have a larger percentage than other cities our own size.
I would say it's an equal percentage probably.
What is your timeline on this? Because I'd like to put this out there and have it actually integrated into our master plan that we're in the process of working on, which isn't gonna like get paper anytime in the near future.
Until next year.
At the earliest, right? I've seen how politics work. It takes a little longer than that. But so, I mean, is that something we could look at, maybe addressing it, putting it before our public forums and see how they feel on that, and go from there?
I think that's the perfect time to do it. We're considering it right now.
I have a couple of things to say. One is on 930. That's in our LDS, our Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints area, and they have a branch there. And you know what? These people have challenges, but there's some really good people, and I think we have to always remember that. Lots of these people have challenges, but there's some really good people out there that need help. In some way, as a community, we want to be this community that's known as in Payson that that we help people. We don't want to bring everybody from the Utah County down here, but we need to do something to help some of these people, and not, I don't know where, but I think we ought to really look at that seriously to try to help people.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts too. I'm trying to decide which ones to say. I grew up in that ward of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that served in that ward area, and we delivered sacrament there. Of course, it started off at Robbins Care Center. My dad lives 2 blocks away. He's right there, and he, I don't think he's had any problems. I mean, there's some things that happen that are kind of different than what you would normally see, but I don't think they've ever worried about their safety from that population as long as they've been there. And they are really just right there in those, I also like this, and when we talked about some of the other housing units, to me, this is the one that's done right. We looked at the other ones that we talked about, and I think we need this in our community. I really think we do, and I know there's some concerns there, but having services right next door, because no matter where you put it, the population that's going to be right next to it is going to be concerned with it. And I totally get that, and I'm not trying to downplay that, but I mean, I know some of the people who would actually fit in that housing too, and the data backs up. So we have all these emotions, but the data seems to back up that they get the good care that they need there, and that they are low, relatively speaking, low impact to their surrounding communities from what I've seen. So whether it's there or somewhere else, I think it's a good place to put it, but I think it's a good thing that we have in our community. And I also work in the schools, and I see some of these kids that need these services. And we can't say no everywhere they go.
I certainly think this is a project that we need to take some serious looks at, and not just say no and make it work.
And I agree with Councilman Christensen. I think as we do our master plan, this would be a really good time to address this, because it's going to happen, and you're not on a real fast track anyways, as far as I understand. So I think I know you want to do it. I know you want to do it right now, but it's been a year since we've talked about this before. So I think as we go through our master plan process and try to find areas that would really fit what you guys need and what we need, I think it could be a win-win, and for the people that need this help too.
I can see the real advantage to having them close to the services that are provided there. but there's not any of the other amenities that are there for them. There's- But the bus doesn't, I mean, you go up to Smith's in that direction, but I mean like, close to work and things, stores, and I think I'd like to look at the whole picture if I can, and just make sure that it's in the best place possible.
I think that's what you're basically saying, is that you're willing to work with us and fit into our general plan.
Depends on the size of the project.
You talked about swapping land. What?
How much land?
Still there, 3 acres, Scott, about 3 acres?
Yeah.
That's left there, about 3, give or take.
It's just so they know a quantity, as they look at the master plan. About 3 acres.
About 3 acres.
Thanks.
Give or take.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any more discussion? I know we're just discussing it, and there's no motion necessary at this point in time, but I think it's been a good, honest discussion, and I think it's leading to something that we should continue to talk about.
And I do like the Food and Care Coalition, you know what I'm talking about, over in Provo. I know they would like to take a lot more people, and I've known several people that have spent, 6 to 8 months there, and it was a place for them to go when they were homeless, sleeping literally under the viaduct.
Yeah.
And so I know that we do need something like that, and that's what I was wondering, if there's, if there's buildings that could be rehabbed somewhere where that, a lot of the homeless could go in there, because it breaks my heart when I see them in tents, and it's 2 degrees. And, it just makes me feel bad, and I don't think we should kick them out, because that's what a lot of cities do, is put them on buses and send them someplace else. And I know a lot of them go to California when it gets cold, but it's really sad, because they need a place, because they can't get employment because they don't have a place to live. Yeah.
Oh, one quick question for you. Is that the state start taking our sales tax money for the homeless? And will some of that come back if we start providing some of that?
I don't know, that's discussion this next legislative session.
That was a question that needed to be asked.
We need to ask that question.
That's only for homeless shelters.
This is where I'd ask the council members to talk with the legislators who they have power with, because you're right. It all sits up past the point of mountain.
But if we're providing part of this is what you want for homeless, so part of it.
Yeah, exactly right.
Put that on the agenda, but we need to talk about it.
I know, again.
I know, Mike, you had mentioned, maybe wanted to say something here, but I think we've discussed it at great length, so I think we'll move on if that's okay.
My concerns have been addressed.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What's that? Oh, I'm sorry.
May I say something?
Sure.
I'm Georgia Mills.
Would you come up here so we can hear you? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Georgia Mills. I'm president of Rosewood Estates. And my understanding, when Scott Phillips sold the property to these people, they stated that this is what they wanted, and because of us, and Sandy Clayton is here, she's president of the other organization, Mountain View, and it is our understanding is that Scott said, no, you will not have housing here, you will only sign this paper if you do commercial on that east side of the property. And so that has been our understanding all of this time. And so with this to come through, someone is not following through on their first agreement. And I want to ask these people, how are you going to make sure that your homeless people, your psychiatric people, whatever lives here, does not come wandering through our neighborhood 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, pounding on doors? I think we moved into into Mountain View and into Rosewood because it was just a beautiful place for retiring people that we've really enjoyed it.
Well, you certainly have some valid concerns, there's no two ways about that. And we certainly want to do our due diligence to make sure that we can do what we need to do for all involved, so.
Thank you, just please understand
Sure.
our concerns.
I think we can go and look up the original contract. I mean, if that's contractually written, then the case is closed. If it
I
wasn't,
would appreciate that.
then the failure went on whoever wrote the contract.
Okay,
But I think we should look at that.
thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, I think unless there's any further discussion, thank you very much for coming and enlightening us on your projects. So, okay, I believe we need to adjourn to a closed session. I'll take, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you again.